subscribe.
It was part of their mystique that they was, this identical side, identical twins. And if you hurt one, you had to hurt the other one.
Except they could fight as one. They had telepathy between themselves. They could understand what the other was doing or saying without actually using any word.
It was a partnership. They wouldn't do a need without each other. You understand me? And if one was upset about something, it wouldn't have nobody else around. It was just them to talk about it.
At one time, you couldn't tell them apart. It was only as the years went on, Ronnie's drinking and that, and the pills he was taking, for his paranoia, that his face got better, and then you could tell them apart.
As they got older, I think Reggie was the saner of the two. Reggie got thinner and very anxious looking. You could see he was living on his nerves. Ronnie didn't live in the real world at all.
The strange thing was even then, Ronnie was like the stronger personality, really, I suppose, more forward, whereas Reggie was a bit more laid back. But even then, and that's exactly how it was as they got older, the same thing. But Ronnie was the leading light even then.
One day I gave one of the Kray associates a lift, and how are you doing, Chris? I said, I'm doing okay. He dropped me off from the blind beggar, he dropped me off at my house. Within half an hour, he was back at my house saying, the Krays wanted to see me, as Tony was with them. This is one I can't get out of. I don't really want to meet him. But Tony was there with him, you see, so yeah, okay, I'll go down there. And that was how I really got involved. I remember we went into the dock one by one. It was Ronnie up first, and he'd come down, and I guess really set the tone on the day. What do you get, Ron? 30 years. Well, I've just got to put my cruise to the Bahamas off for a short time, but never mind, we'll have a wonderful time when it finally arrives, with a smile on his face. It was just another day, it was just another event. I'm going to write another player. And then Reggie went up, and he went up like a fighter, like a boxer entering the ring, a bit of swagger and stuff like that. And he came down, how'd you get on, Reg? Life recommended 30, come in. And I was sitting in the cell, we were literally all in the same cell together. He said, don't worry, and I remember him putting his hands on my neck and, working the tensions out. And then, almost like I was going into a fight, called up, and up I went and stood in front of Judge Milford Stevenson, and he said, life with a recommended 15. I remember looking up at the dock, at the public gallery, and my father was up there with old Charlie Kray, and I could not show my father that I was beaten. I couldn't break down, and I just waved up at him and said, see you later, Dad. I've been where Reggie Kray's been. 15 years was awesome. I could not imagine another 15 years on top of that. To take into account 30 years, and when we went away, a Big Mac was a coat you wore. A chip was something you put in your mouth. Now, everywhere we look, there are chips which control our lives. He must think about death and from like 65, the way he keeps himself fit, and he's fighting it like he's put time. But how long can you fight it for, In that room that night, madness reigned for such a short moment. But that madness for him has not gone away. He must have died a million times in there. I did, I know. Sometimes I felt it would have been better if they'd have hanged us. A lot of people died that night. I don't think just Jet died. Somebody told me that Reggie Kray sends letters out of prison with a photograph as he used to be, not as he is, because he lives in the past. Now, my argument is not that he lives in the past, is that nobody will let him live in the future. Nobody will let him live right now. No, I don't think society knows Reggie Kray. I think they've been presented with a TV dinner. That's Reggie Kray. There's nothing else to him. They've seen the books, they've seen the films, but they were all made by other people. They know nothing. They assume. And that's what he has to live with on a daily basis. It's where I had to live. And I look along this landing and I think about the hundreds, thousands that have gone behind the door of each cell. And how many people have been really rehabilitated? Not many. There was no rehabilitation for someone like me, as there really is no rehabilitation for somebody like Reggie Kray, because we don't need it. It's non-existent. It's just a word in prison. We rehabilitate ourselves. We come to the conclusion of who we are and what's acceptable and what's decent, right and proper. I'd seen the absolute worst of human nature. I mean, I had messed up so many people's lives. Eventually it got to the stage where I couldn't wait to get back to the cell. That was the love affair. And I could shut the door and I could look out the sky. I'd seen nothing of nature for years, but here I could watch the starlings, and it never failed to amaze me about starlings. They could never be satisfied. The mother and father would run off and get them food, bring it back, and they forever had an open mouth. I watched robins and sparrows having dust baths, things I didn't know birds did, and I began to open up and I began to look at nature in itself, and I saw that things died and things regenerated. I watched a tree, in the summer, beautiful green, and the flowers came up, and in the autumn the leaves began to drop and they died and they went to nowhere. Where were the things of beauty? But I had to wait for another season for them to come back. And I found that in my own life. As I've lost things, maybe for a short span of time, maybe a long span of time, that they have come back. The beauty has come back. It's about now and the few years that remain. There's always time for turning and getting back something of what you lost.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please join our Facebook group. It's called Krays Crime Lords of London. We're a friendly moderated group with over 1,000 Kray and other celebrated gangster videos available for view. There's also thousands of images in the photos sections. The link for the group is in the YouTube description section. I hope